Humans. Cowards. Weaklings. The alien general's voice echoed through the vast war room, his harsh, guttural words cutting through the tension in the air. His eyes, burning with arrogance, swept over the assembled warriors. Each one a soldier forged in battle, each one raised to believe in their innate superiority over the lesser species of the galaxy. And none more so than the fragile, pathetic creatures from the small blue planet they were about to invade. "Hear me," the general snarled, his sharp, talon-like fingers stabbing at the holographic projection of Earth spinning slowly before them. "These humans, they hide behind their machines. They cower behind their weapons. They never engage in true combat, because they are weak. They are afraid." A ripple of laughter spread through the room, the alien soldiers feeding off their commander's scorn. The general's posture relaxed slightly, savoring the moment, enjoying the sense of inevitability he had cultivated. His warriors were confident, and rightly so. Time and time again, they had crushed human forces in skirmishes across the galaxy. The humans, with their clumsy technology and reliance on long-range strikes, had never stood a chance against the might of the alien fleets and the raw physical power of their soldiers. "These so-called humans think they can resist us," the general continued, his voice now dripping with disdain. "They think they can fight us, that they can protect their pathetic planet. But what do they know of real combat? They have never stood face to face with an enemy. They have never fought hand to hand, with nothing but their own strength to rely on. They are not warriors. They are sheep, waiting to be slaughtered." He gestured to the hologram, where detailed movements of the Earth's defenses flickered and shifted. Armies gathering, aircraft mobilizing, governments in chaos as they scrambled to respond to the alien threat. It was laughable. The general sneered. Their strategy? Flee. Their hope? Hide. They will send their drones, their missiles, their primitive weapons. And we will crush them. Another wave of murmurs spread across the room, this time a mix of amusement and anticipation. The alien soldiers, their faces twisted with eagerness, were ready to move. They had been trained for this moment, sharpened into perfect tools of destruction. The invasion was nothing more than an exercise in extermination. The humans would fall, just like every other species that had dared to stand in the Empire's way. "Prepare yourselves," the general said, his voice growing cold, authoritative. "Our forces will descend upon them in waves. There will be no mercy. We will make an example of them. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. His eyes narrowed as he considered the next phase of the operation. The invasion of Earth wasn't just another campaign. It was a statement. A declaration of the Empire's dominance, its ability to subjugate even the most stubborn species. There had been whispers, of course. Rumors of strange human warriors, figments, really. Talk of mysterious defenders who could strike from the shadows, warriors with skills that seemed unnatural. But the general dismissed these stories as desperate fabrications, human attempts to cling to some shred of dignity. He had faced these so-called defenders in battle, and they were nothing more than myths blown out of proportion. Fleeting, insignificant. These so-called protectors of Earth? The general chuckled darkly. Phantoms. Legends. They are nothing but a distraction. There are no champions left to save them. When we land, the human armies will break before us. Their cities will fall. He glanced around the room, ensuring every soldier understood what was to come. This is no war. This is a culling. You will move through their ranks like a storm, and when we are done, there will be nothing left of their species but the ashes of their civilization. A murmur of approval rose from the ranks, a collective exhale of satisfaction. The soldiers were ready. They had been waiting for this moment. To carve their name into the history of conquest. And there was no enemy easier to crush than one that was already broken by fear. Do not be deceived by their numbers, the general added, his voice low but firm. They will send millions against us, but they are like insects. Fragile. Weak. afraid to face us in close combat because they know what awaits them. We will tear through them with ease. He stepped closer to the hologram, watching the earth spin beneath his gaze. Their greatest strength is their cowardice. They will scatter. They will retreat. They will beg for their lives. The general paused, a small, cruel smile spreading across his face. And we will give them nothing. The room fell silent as the soldiers straightened, their minds focused on the task ahead. There was no question in anyone's mind. The humans were doomed, and the invasion would be a swift and decisive victory. The general turned away from the hologram, his eyes blazing with certainty. We begin at dawn. Earth will fall. And with that, he dismissed his warriors, knowing that by the time the sun set on that insignificant world, humanity would be nothing but a memory. He moved like a shadow, unnoticed by the world around him. A single figure, blending seamlessly into the darkness, unseen and unheard. His identity didn't matter, he had none. The mission was all that existed. Every step was calculated, every breath controlled, a lifetime of training distilled into precise movement. He was a weapon, honed to perfection, a force built not for show, but for silent, deadly efficiency. There was no need for names, no face to attach to his actions. He was the embodiment of the unseen threat, the hidden edge of humanity's defense. And as he stood in the thick, silent night, preparing for what was to come, the weight of his task didn't faze him. It never did. His training had stripped away fear long ago, burned it out in the fires of discipline. From the highest mountain peaks where oxygen was thin, to the densest jungles where predators hunted, he had trained. Cold, heat, starvation, nothing could break his focus. Every hardship was embraced, every challenge a sharpening stone. He had learned the art of survival, not just in body, but in mind. His resilience wasn't just physical, it was the ability to think clearly under any circumstance, to adapt instantly, without hesitation. His body was his weapon, forged through years of rigorous martial arts training. Every muscle knew its purpose, every nerve was wired for action. He could disarm, disable, or kill in the blink of an eye. His hands moved faster than the eye could follow, striking with precision at the exact points that would bring an enemy to their knees. But it wasn't just ancient techniques that he had mastered. He had also learned to incorporate modern weaponry, silent, efficient tools that complemented his skill set. From retractable blades to energy-suppressing firearms, his arsenal was both ancient and futuristic. The aliens had their advanced technology, their overwhelming numbers, and their massive warships. But this was different. A ninja didn't fight wars in the open. He wasn't sent to engage in drawn-out battles or to match the enemy strength for strength. His purpose was surgical. To strike at the heart of the enemy, to cripple them from within, to use their own strengths against them. One man could change the outcome of a war, not by brute force, but by knowing exactly where to cut. Humanity had developed incredible weapons, vast armies, and fleets of warships. But when it came to facing threats that no technology could overcome, they still relied on warriors like him. He wasn't a relic of the past, he was the culmination of centuries of knowledge. Technology couldn't replace instinct, intuition, or the ability to disappear into thin air. The ninja was sent when precision was more important than power, when the enemy needed to be dismantled from within, and when the mission required someone who could vanish before the enemy knew he was even there. The aliens had heard whispers. Stories of humans who moved like ghosts, impossible to detect, impossible to stop. But they dismissed these tales as myths, as exaggerations. They relied on their machines, their sensors, their drones. They believed that no organic being could escape their surveillance, that nothing could evade their all-seeing technology. They were wrong. He knew this, as he stood silently, watching from the shadows, just outside the alien perimeter. They had no idea he was there. Their ships hovered above, their patrols moved in well-lit, predictable patterns, their soldiers confident in their superior firepower. They believed they were untouchable. He smiled slightly beneath his mask. They always believed that, until it was too late. His mind, as calm as the night around him, was already mapping out his next moves. The first strike was always the most important. It had to be clean, precise. Take out a high-ranking officer, destabilize the chain of command, and then disappear before they even realized something had gone wrong. He had done it before. He would do it again. The alien general, so sure of his victory, so certain of humanity's defeat, had no idea what was coming. No sensor would detect him. No drone would spot him. He was already inside their fortress, and they were none the wiser. The stories were true. The alien fleet descended upon Earth with terrifying precision, their massive ships darkening the sky as they hovered above the major cities. The ground beneath rumbled with the hum of their engines, a constant, menacing drone that reverberated through the streets. Their technology was beyond anything humans had ever witnessed, a seamless blend of advanced war machines, sleek aircraft, and towering armored soldiers. The alien forces deployed with ruthless efficiency, establishing control zones in seconds. From the surface, it was clear that this wasn't an invasion, it was a display of dominance, a power play that made humanity's best efforts look feeble by comparison. Earth's defense forces scrambled to respond, mobilizing in full strength. Tanks rolled out, jets streaked across the sky, and ground troops fortified their positions. Missile batteries fired into the sky, desperate to intercept the incoming threat. The sky lit up with explosions as human forces unleashed everything they had. But the alien technology was beyond them. Shields flickered effortlessly around the alien ships, deflecting missiles and artillery as though they were little more than toys. The alien war machines, enormous and unyielding, marched through human defenses like they were made of paper. Bullets ricocheted harmlessly off their armor, and beams of energy tore through the human ranks, leaving scorched earth and devastation in their wake. From the safety of his command ship, the alien general watched with satisfaction. His glowing eyes scanned the battlefield through a massive view screen, watching Earth's cities buckle under the weight of his forces. There was no urgency in his posture, no concern. This was a formality, nothing more. The outcome was inevitable. Pathetic, he sneered, his voice dripping with disdain as he addressed his officers. Look at them. Flailing about like insects. They cling to their outdated technology, their primitive weapons, hoping it will make a difference. The general's voice echoed across the battlefield as he initiated a broadcast to Earth's military leaders. His image appeared on screens around the world, towering and menacing, his presence a final insult to those who still resisted. Humans, he began, with that same condescending tone. I offer you a chance. Surrender now, and we may spare some of you. Resist, and you will be wiped from existence. You have seen our power. You have no hope of victory. Your weapons are useless. Your armies are broken. You are nothing. The general cut the transmission, leaning back as his officers exchanged smug glances. They could see the battle unfolding below, where human forces were being overwhelmed at every turn. It was only a matter of time before the world was theirs. But amid the chaos and destruction, the ninja watched, unseen. Moving with the same stealth and precision he had perfected, he slipped between the alien camps, observing. His dark silhouette blended into the environment as though he were part of the shadows themselves. The battle raged all around him, but he remained untouched. Silent. The aliens were overconfident. They saw themselves as invincible, untouchable, believing their superior technology rendered them immune to any threat. To them, the human forces were nothing more than a nuisance, an annoyance to be swatted away. And that arrogance blinded them. They didn't notice the small anomalies. The missing soldiers. The unexplained malfunctions in their equipment. A patrol of alien soldiers, confident in their superiority, marched through the perimeter of one of their encampments. One by one, they disappeared, silently, without a sound, without a trace. Their absence wasn't noticed immediately. There was too much noise, too much happening at once. But as the patrols continued to dwindle, murmurs spread. Equipment that had been functioning flawlessly just moments before began to glitch. Power surges, unexplained system failures, critical machinery going dark for no apparent reason. The aliens chalked it up to coincidence, at first. Maybe human interference. A fluke. Nothing to worry about. Their machines were superior, and any problem could be solved in time. But the incidents began to pile up. A missing officer here. A sabotage generator there. A surveillance drone malfunctioning just as it was supposed to scan a critical area. Whispers of unease began to spread among the alien ranks. Officers barked orders, trying to maintain control, but their confidence was beginning to fray. Something was wrong, but they couldn't put their finger on it. The humans couldn't be responsible, they were too weak, too disorganized. And yet, something was happening. From his command post, the alien general remained blissfully unaware of the growing unrest below. His focus was on the grand picture, the overwhelming dominance of his forces. To him, the battle was already over. The humans had lost, it was just a matter of cleaning up the remnants. But as the ninja watched from the shadows, unseen and undetected, he knew the truth. The aliens were confident. Overconfident. And it would be their downfall. For now, he waited, patient. Calculating. The time to strike was coming. The battle was far from over. And before it was through, the aliens would understand the true meaning of fear. The moonless night had cloaked the battlefield in darkness. This was his time. The ninja moved swiftly, invisible to the alien patrols, blending into the shadows with a grace no machine could detect. The air was thick with the tension of an impending storm, yet the calm of his breathing betrayed no urgency. His strikes would be as precise as the beat of his heart. The alien camps buzzed with activity, their advanced machinery humming, unaware of the danger lurking just beyond their sight. He scanned the area, his mind a map of opportunities and weaknesses. The first target, a high-ranking alien officer stationed near a communications hub. His presence was critical to maintaining order across the battlefield. Removing him would create the first fissure in the alien structure. Silently, the ninja approached. A few seconds of careful movement, and he was close enough. His hands moved swiftly, a silent blur. The officer didn't have time to react. By the time his body slumped to the ground, the ninja was already gone, disappearing into the night. Panic spread quickly. The remaining officers gathered, issuing frantic commands to increase security. But it was too late. The communications hub was already compromised. The system sputtered, their holographic displays flickering and collapsing into static as the ninja's sabotage took effect. Alarms blared, but they were meaningless now. Communications were crippled, and their well-coordinated invasion had begun to unravel. In the chaos, no one knew what was happening. Soldiers scrambled, barking orders in their alien tongue, but without clear command, their actions became erratic. The once orderly camps were now in disarray, and the ninja took full advantage. He moved silently between them, exploiting every gap in their defenses. His hands and feet became weapons as deadly as any blade, his strikes disabling soldiers with pinpoint accuracy before they could even raise their weapons. Another officer fell, his armored body crashing to the ground with a hollow thud. The ninja never lingered. The moment the strike was delivered, he was gone, already setting his sights on the next target. The aliens, confused and terrified, began to realize they were facing an enemy unlike anything they'd ever encountered. From their perspective, it was as though the night itself was attacking them. The ninja was never seen, only felt. Soldiers would call for backup, only for their reinforcements to fall silent. They'd catch fleeting glimpses of movement, a shadow flitting through their ranks, but by the time they reacted, it was already too late. Their superior technology, their advanced sensors and surveillance drones, all proved useless against a threat they couldn't even comprehend. The alien general, watching from his command post, grew increasingly agitated. His once calm demeanor had given way to frustration and disbelief. This wasn't possible. A single human couldn't possibly be responsible for the chaos spreading through his ranks. Yet his soldiers continued to report the impossible, officers disappearing, critical equipment malfunctioning, entire squads wiped out without a sound. "Find him," the general roared, slamming his fist down onto the control console. His holographic display showed nothing, just the same flickering images of his disoriented troops scrambling in confusion. His face twisted with anger. How can one human cause this much damage? His officers, who had once stood confidently beside him, now shifted nervously, unsure of how to respond. They, too, had been conditioned to believe in their superiority, in the invincibility of their technology. But now, faced with an enemy that defied all their expectations, fear began to take root. The ninja, unaffected by the rising panic around him, continued his assault. He wasn't just killing soldiers, he was dismantling their entire operation. He sabotaged their power sources, causing entire sectors of the alien camp to plunge into darkness. He disabled their heavy weaponry, rendering it useless in the heat of battle. His strikes were perfectly timed, each one compounding the aliens' confusion and disarray. In one swift motion, he disabled a squadron of alien drones, their circuits shorting out with a quiet hiss. He knew their patterns, their blind spots. He exploited every weakness, never giving the aliens a chance to recover. The ground forces became little more than stumbling, panicked groups, trying to hold formation, but with no sense of who or what they were fighting. The general's frustration boiled over into desperation. "He's just one human," he bellowed, his voice carrying over the communications channel. "How can this be happening?" But even as he shouted orders, his command grew weaker. His once mighty army was unraveling, and the alien soldiers, who had entered this invasion with absolute certainty of their victory, were now gripped with fear. The ninja's attacks were not just physical, they were psychological. He was the embodiment of every myth and rumor they had once dismissed. The whispers of humans who could vanish into thin air, who could kill without being seen, were no longer dismissed as legend. They were real. The ninja's final strike of the night came as swiftly as the others. He infiltrated the central command post, where the general had retreated, his once confident demeanor now a distant memory. The ninja moved silently through the high-security corridors, bypassing every defense the aliens had set up. Not even their most advanced systems could detect him. And then, just as quietly as he had begun, the ninja disappeared into the night, leaving behind a camp in ruins, a demoralized army, and a general who now faced the unthinkable, his invincible forces, broken by the actions of a single human. The realization settled in slowly among the aliens. Their technology had failed them. Their numbers had failed them. And now, with the ninja still at large, their fear would only grow. This was no ordinary human. This was something far more dangerous. The ninja had already won half the battle, not through sheer strength, but by planting the seed of doubt in the minds of every alien soldier who remained. And that seed would only grow, consuming them from within. The alien general paced anxiously in his command center, his composure shattered by the events unfolding outside. His forces, once invincible, were in disarray. His soldiers, who had once marched with confidence, now cowered in fear, unable to comprehend the enemy they faced. The general's mind raced, trying to find some way to regain control. But the truth was inescapable: one human had turned his grand invasion into chaos. Then, without warning, the lights flickered, the soft hum of the command center growing faint. His advanced sensors, the layers of protection surrounding him, suddenly seemed useless. He knew what was coming. The ninja was here. The general turned, gripping his weapon tightly as he scanned the shadows for any sign of movement. His advanced armor, a symbol of his superiority, hummed as it powered up. He would not go down easily. This human had humiliated him, but the fight was not over. He was a warrior, bred for combat, and now he would face the human directly. Out of the darkness, the ninja appeared, silent and focused, his movements as fluid as the wind. The general raised his weapon, firing a burst of energy that scorched the air. But the ninja had already moved, slipping out of sight before the shot even landed. The general cursed under his breath, swinging his weapon wildly, trying to catch any glimpse of his opponent. But the ninja was already behind him, his strikes fast and deliberate. The general's brute strength was overwhelming. Every swing of his weapon created shockwaves, his armor glowing with the power of advanced alien technology. But it didn't matter. The ninja's movements were too precise, too fast. He weaved in and out of the general's strikes, landing precise blows to the weak points in his armor. Every strike destabilized the alien systems, causing the once impenetrable suit to sputter and fail. Desperation fueled the general's movements now, his rage boiling over as he charged at the ninja with everything he had. But the ninja remained calm, stepping aside with effortless grace as the alien stumbled past. It wasn't just skill that was winning this fight, it was discipline, control, and strategy. The ninja's every movement was calculated, every strike perfectly timed. The alien general let out a roar, swinging his weapon in a final, desperate attempt to overpower the human. But the ninja slipped beneath the arc of the weapon, his body twisting gracefully as he delivered the final blow. A single, precise strike to the general's exposed neck. The alien froze, his eyes wide with shock as the realization dawned on him, he had lost. The general collapsed to his knees, his weapon clattering to the floor. The ninja stood over him, silent and composed, watching as the life drained from the alien's eyes. With a single, fluid motion, the ninja stepped back into the shadows, leaving the alien to die in silence. The command center fell into a deafening stillness. The once mighty general, the symbol of the alien invasion, lay defeated on the cold metal floor. The heart of the alien army had been torn out, and with it, their will to fight. Outside, the alien forces began to retreat. Word had spread quickly, their general was dead, and the human they had underestimated had defeated him. Panic rippled through the ranks, soldiers abandoning their posts, machines powering down. The once organized invasion force was now little more than a fleeing mob, desperate to escape the planet that had proven far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. The sky was filled with the retreating ships, their engines roaring as they fled from Earth's surface. The invasion was over. The aliens, who had once believed themselves untouchable, were running in fear. Back inside the command center, the ninja moved silently through the now empty corridors. As he prepared to leave, he left behind a single message, carved into the wall of the alien ship's main console: "You thought we were weak because we don't flaunt our power. But one of us is enough." The message was simple, yet powerful. It was a declaration that would echo through the galaxy, a reminder that humanity's strength wasn't in their technology or their armies, but in their ability to adapt, to fight, and to survive against impossible odds. As the last of the alien ships disappeared into the sky, Earth stood victorious. Not because of a grand display of force, but because one human, armed with skill, discipline, and resolve, had been enough to turn the tide of an entire invasion. The world watched in awe as the invaders retreated, unsure of what had saved them but grateful nonetheless. The ninja, faceless and unknown, had returned to the shadows, his job complete. There would be no glory, no recognition. His mission was never about that. It was about ensuring the survival of his people. As the dust settled, there was a quiet understanding among those who had witnessed the battle. Humanity had been underestimated, mocked for its apparent weaknesses. But in the end, it was those very traits, resilience, adaptability, and hidden strength, that had made them victorious.